Bungie is back in the news.
Oh, yeah.
Bungie may be making their final mistake.
No.
Today we're going to be talking about the final shape.
Final shape.
Funny.
The final mistake.
Today we're talking about the downfall of Bungie, once a titan in the gaming industry, now potentially on the brink of collapse. With their next major release, Marathon, coming soon, we are going to talk about some of the mismanagement, legal issues, creative losses, and internal chaos that suggests Marathon might be officially dead on arrival.
No.
Austin,
Say it ain't so. Sick.
you want to kick us off here?
Sure. Yeah, so obviously this came out. We made a video about Marathon and its gameplay overview and its trailer and cinematic trailer that came out, and kind of gave our thoughts like, yeah, we don't think it's going to be that successful. Well, I guess some of us are like, but
Yeah.
I am like,
Our reviews, our comments said we were an indecisive bunch in that video.
no, that's true. That's true. Look, we're trying to give it credit where credit's due on certain aspects of the game. So there's that. But yeah, so I was like, I'm just curious. You know, obviously Bungie's changed over the years, changed hands. New people have come and gone. You know, the creatives of the original Halo trilogy have left. Certain people have been there since, I think, the second game. And, yeah, just like, I'm always curious to know, like, what's behind the scenes, what's happening. And so I recently found out some information and watched a few videos that were talking about some inside stuff that's going down in Bungie. And lo and behold, it has to deal with potentially people being super greedy, which is pretty common right now in the gaming industry, and just trying to take an IP and milk money off of it for their own benefit. So, Bungie's having a leadership crisis, and it goes back all the way to the days of Halo 2 with Pete Parsons, who is currently the CEO of Bungie. And he is potentially the guy who, even all the way back then, has started to we could have potentially tracked the decline of Bungie since he's been there. So shortly after the Sony acquisition of Bungie, reports arose suggesting that Parsons made significant purchase of luxury items such as classic cars during the time when the company was undergoing layoffs. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that because I put it in here.
Well, I remember that time where I heard about this CEO buying these cars and showing it to people who literally just got laid off. Like, hey, guys, you want to go check out
what
my
your
car?
paycheck went to.
Yeah. And so, you know, and I think at the time we heard that, you know, there's no layoffs were going to happen. Well, it turns out that this guy, the CEO, was the one who initiated the layoffs at that time, and it wasn't Microsoft.
Oh, really?
And he was trying to consolidate so that there's more, I guess, potentially money within Bungie to use and I guess buy cars with. So the pattern of leadership and missteps as dating back to Harold Rand, who driven out. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Sorry. My bad. Ryan. What did I say? Rand? Has driven out core creatives like Joe Staten, who wrote or helped write the Halo trilogy.
Yeah.
And Marty O'Donnell, who created the music, which is, you know, some of the best and most iconic video game music of all time.
I don't remember how it all goes. But
Which is crazy that greed would lead you to kick out some of the most creative people in the video game industry potentially ever, just so you can get a buck. I mean, I think that's just...
Yeah, back when Halo was good.
Man, yeah. So, yeah, there was like this whole, like... Bungie was having issues with Microsoft back in those days. And so they were trying to figure out a way, like, obviously Microsoft was being greedy, and they were trying to take all the money. Like, they had, you know, come out with, like, here is how we're going to partition money out. And even Microsoft was like, no, you know, I know we have this agreement, but we're not going to do that. We want more money. And so they're like, okay, what can we do to get out of this contract with Microsoft? And so Bungie was like, all right, or Microsoft was like, make us these games, and then you can go. And so that's what they did. They ended up finishing out the Halo trilogy with ODST 3 and then Reach, and they were able to go off on their own. And then they started with...
When I remember from a public perception, it was like, yeah, take it to the man. You're out on your own now. You're independent. It's going to be awesome.
And then they did not do so well.
I was hoping you would continue.
Oh,
with
yeah.
that.
Well, Destiny 1 obviously was like kind of mixed reception, mostly okay. And then they had to come out with Destiny 2, which was a little better, but obviously the story still kind of sucked. So, let me see here.
Well, I think this next point is important because it's like talks about, and this is something that I never didn't really fully think about, but like we look at Bungie as like they can do no wrong. Then that's like, this is the team that made Halo. Oh my gosh. But Bungie is a brand. It's not the people anymore that used to be there. The people have changed. It's kind of like when people were talking about Dragon Age Veilguard coming out. It's like the people at BioWare are not the same people. They aren't the people that used to be there that made those original games. And just because their name is Bungie doesn't mean it's the Bungie that we know, that we grew up with. So it's like the team behind Halo and Destiny pretty much isn't there anymore. And it's a whole new crew.
Right.
And it's like, then with all these different buyouts and stuff like that having occurred and shifting of people, you know, now with them under Sony and stuff, it's like there's never been a time for them to like really just like cook and do what they're good at. I mean, they jumped into Destiny and like they had all these different team members and stuff that were working on Destiny, but we've seen the turmoil through the Destiny lifespan of people leaving and then the story is getting rebooted and all this stuff happening. And it's just like, and then there was like acquisition changes throughout that process, you know, where they eventually got acquired by Sony and everything. And it's just like, it kind of just created a mess. And they were just like, the creators were just trying to keep up with it all, but which ended up making a really good game that people did enjoy, but you know, it didn't, there was a lot going on the surface that kind of led to what could have been a great game, probably not doing as well as it should have.
Yeah. I mean, you always need a business guy and you need the creatives, and they need to be able to work hand in hand. But sometimes we've seen the creatives get too creative and they waste all the money and they can't deliver and they overpromise. And that happens a lot in the video game industry. And then you have the people who see the potential of the IP or of the, you know, Bungie, and they're like, well, we can make money off of this. And I think this guy is a deal guy. So he's just making deals left and right, seeing where he can get cash quick, in my opinion. And so, yeah, like people start getting in the way. He doesn't care technically about the game because, you know, I think as these companies like progress forward, they make mistakes. We give them a benefit of the doubt. We give them time, you know, especially like coming off of the Halo series, Bungie coming into Destiny. It's like, okay, it's not the perfect game. Obviously, there's a lot of issues. Let's give them a chance. Let them rebound. Destiny 2 comes out, and it obviously, again, like it's like, okay, yeah, it's a little better. It's a lot better, but it wasn't enough. And then you start to, I think, over time, and because games come out in such a long period of time, like I think it's easy to kind of forget some of the negative stuff or the writing on the wall or the trends of how they're performing over time. And I think a lot of people take advantage of that too. But eventually things catch up with people, and some people start pointing out the issues like, hey, look at this streak of failures or issues, and it's not going to get any better. And obviously you got PR people in there too who are trying to work things and make things sound good and get you to be like, okay, yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. And I think eventually it just, it becomes too much. And I think here we are with Marathon. It's like, all right, what are you guys actually doing? Like, this isn't, I mean, for some people, I'm sure they're excited about it, but I don't know. I guess the gameplay is probably what is going to be the tried and true of what Bungie is, but I think it'd be, obviously, time will tell with all that. So they have gotten some legal turmoil. Like you said, people, they've been copying stuff. They've been copying fan art. I've seen that they've gone on and I guess they have people who go and like look at certain styles of art. I mean, I think that's what you do. I think that's what most artists do. They go out and they actually,
I mean, we take inspiration from everything.
We want some inspiration, but it seems that they have actually almost like one-to-one kind of, maybe not exactly one-to-one, like copied certain people's art and have used that in their games. And people are saying that it is so they can streamline and get certain things out the door as quickly as possible.
Well, that's what ended up happening with this. Like, this just happened this month actually, but they this artist Anti-Real in 2017 posted some artwork, and it was apparently utilized inside of Marathon's alpha release, and she showed evidence that this was her designs incorporating the game's assets. Bungie came out and actually said, yes, we did use this unauthorized, but they said a former employee included the assets in the game's texture sheets but never actually removed it. It was like for placement only. Is something that the term that we use in the industry, where it's like we'll do stuff that's FPO, saying like, hey, here's a image we stole off the internet that we're using as a proof of concept, and eventually we'll change it. Well, this never got changed, and therefore now it's creating a legal incident here. But it's like, Bungie's big, and they shouldn't be making mistakes like this. But then there was even previously, I pulled up an article here. I wanted some details about this other copyright lawsuit where they were using fan wikis. And last year in 2024, or in October 2024, there was a science fiction writer who filed a lawsuit against Bungie saying that the Destiny 2 campaign's Red War and Curse of Osiris infringe upon his unpublished works, which I don't know how they got access to if it's unpublished, but he claimed that Bungie copied specific plot elements, characters, themes from the stories, including the alien faction known as Red Legion. Bungie attempted to dismiss this lawsuit by submitting fan-made YouTube videos and wiki pages as evidence, saying the content in question was not accessible due to the company's content vaulting practices. But basically, the judge was like, you can't cite the inner gamer, I guess, even, for stuff like that. That's not enough evidence, that's not factual backing evidence to prove this. And it's just like, it wasn't, high enough of validity for a legal proceeding. And it's just like, a company of this size should not be making mistakes like this in court.
And basically the videos I was watching was like showing that this is kind of a trend, that potentially they're trying to rush this out as fast as possible, and that like obviously using some of this art from these people, not necessarily from like Destiny, but like other art for now, using it for Marathon to kind of help streamline and just get this out as fast as possible, make money, because this is potentially Bungie's final go at something because of just how much money Sony has put into it. Sony, like we were talking about before, Sony was trying to get games as a service off the ground, and now they're starting to cancel projects, and Concord being the last massive failure in probably video game history when it comes to games as a service. And so this is also supposed to be that Marathon. So they really need to pull it out of the bag, but I think the sleuths on the internet are just fantastic. So like them pulling all this out, trying to paint a picture for everybody like, hey, I think the writing's on the wall. I think this is it's all leading to Marathon not being the game that is being presented to us. Or the one that they hope that we will fall in love with. And for them to choose this kind of gameplay, the extraction shooter, like apparently when Arc Raiders came out the same time for the beta, the same time that Marathon did, and they couldn't keep people playing Marathon.
But yeah,
everyone wanted to go to Arc Raiders.
And Bark is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just not.
That's the image they stole right here. This at the bottom right.
Yeah.
Oopsie daisy.
That's one piece of it, but
know if that's a placeholder for them. For their, that seems like that was just intentionally
literally my logo.
I mean, they probably thought it was just gonna blow off and it'll be fine. But
it is very small. I'm surprised they noticed it. But no, that's that's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Interesting.
Something I wanted to mention that I think that plays back to what we talked about in our last video, of what we think this game should be, is kind of there was an article that came out on Forbes from Paul Tassi where he talked about, in lieu of this whole copyright thing from Anti-Real and stuff like that, he spoke to some former employees about Bungie's excuse for the art theft, studio morale, the possibility of a delay of Marathon, and some very real changes, because the reception of what we had was similar to what other people were saying about the alpha. What he learned was the the public explanation for the art theft, one ex-employee taking things in 2020 is the same one being given internally among the rank and file. So it's not like they're saying anything different internally versus externally. But what I thought was interesting is that morale is in free fall across all departments, and the vibes have never been worse. Everyone has the same concerns about what happens to Bungie as a studio if Marathon bombs, which is something they can't afford. And then they even hint or joke about a delay from the September release date internally, with that saying it's entirely possible, but if not likely, those conversations are happening privately between higher-ups and with Sony and Bungie. It's unclear what the plan is to launch a game in a now actively hostile environment. But some other things about the internal kind of reaction to the gameplay footage in the alpha. They said that at the start of this month, Bungie pulled the plug on its main Marathon marketing plan, which was going to have a new trailer this coming June, along with the launch of pre-orders. The whole campaign is being reworked now. A heavily marketed public beta in August may be changed into a roadmap of public playtests. And Marathon was originally, this is the big thing, was originally pitched by higher-up good old boy Bungie leadership. And as far back as 5 years ago, devs said what would and wouldn't work and were often ignored. Many have previously stated that it needed to have some sort of PvE component to be successful.
Gotta love it. I mean, you gotta love it when the higher ups just like, no, we don't. You just work for us. You make what we tell you to make.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hubris and
gotta
pride.
have that PvP though, you know.
Yeah,
and that's to have that. That's more important than.
And it's like, that's what we said in the last video. We were like, put some PvE in here, you know? This would be awesome to play. This would be like a Helldivers for us.
It'd be like a Helldivers.
Destiny's best off of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they didn't introduce the Crucible till like, a couple months down the road afterwards.
Yeah. That's PvP technically.
Well, that's what it means. Yeah.
That's what.
Oh.
They had PvE first and then brought in PvP.
I see.
Whereas this is going PvP with nothing else to do.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying now.
And I thought there's PvE elements in this one, bro.
Well, I mean, there is, but it's all PvP though still,
PvE.
But yeah, it's PvPvE, I guess.
So.
But
Yep.
yeah, it's just being such a, I mean, we just finished talking about Wildgate, which is a PvPvE game also, but that is way more approachable and feels less, feels more casual in the best way, whereas this one does not, because you have that aspect of like in Wildgate, every mission is self-contained inside of its mission, right?
Yeah.
And you don't carry with anything afterwards, whereas in this, it's like the core of an extraction shooter is you die, you lose it all, and
That's not fun for the average Joe.
Yeah.
Like, you want someone like Travis playing this game, and he's not going to play this game.
Right.
He's
Wait, I think he's going to play it. I'm just kidding. He's going to love this game.
If he loved it, I would be very surprised.
I know Trav.
I would. Don't say that. Oh, mercy. Yeah, I think with all this information and the picture it's painting, like, this game is not going to succeed if it comes out the way it is. But yeah, think about it. Like, how could it not come out soonish with all the money that they just spent on buying Bungie and finishing off this game? Like, they need to make money back. And if it's just not going to make money, like, how much more money do you sink into this game to make it, playable or something? Like, if it's going to bomb, it's going to bomb, and might as well just bomb it or cancel it at this point, Like, don't let, I mean, you could Concord it, I guess. Let it come out for a week and be like, all right, we failed.
They probably will. Speaking of which, did you see the, what was that game? Remember Fairgames that was showcased?
Yes.
That kind of has a similar art style in a way. Jade Raymond, the head of that studio that created that studio, just stepped down and is moving on to another game. So that was the only other live service game from Sony that was being pitched. So this shit's just falling apart all over the place. Started with Concord, and then this, and then Fairgames, and I didn't realize here in the stat here, Bungie laid off 100 employees in 2023 after Destiny's 2's revenue dropped 45%. That's a lot.
Yep. For mismanagement, man.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, it's sad to see, someone so beloved and revolutionary just like slowly crash and burn.
Yeah.
That is literally the trend of like every major studio right now.
Yeah.
It's just sad to see. I mean, I think, money's great, and I want these companies to be successful, but there's no balance. And, I think American culture, especially with something like this, like, as soon as the money people realize how much money video games are making, like, they just moved in and took over, and they're like, all right, I know how to make more money. Yeah. And it's like, you just let the gamers make the games they want to make.
Right.
And you're going to make money. Like,
well, what's interesting to me is, like, I mean, this doesn't seem like it's as much a Sony thing, just because, for me, because...
no, I'm not.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like I want to say it's a Sony thing, because we talked about, like, Xbox and all that stuff, but it's like, it's definitely a Bungie thing, I think, mostly, because Helldivers is an example of, like, they have done well. But then we've also talked about in the past where, like, the new person of Sony has made some shitty decisions, over time. Like, he's not the one that's in there that was doing all the successful, decisions throughout the course of history. But regardless, though, it's like Bungie, the owners of Bungie are the ones that are, like, messing this up, or not the boners, the heads of Bungie.
Yeah.
And that's the shameful part, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that work here that are, like, really, really passionate.
Well, that's why people join.
And,
Bungie, a lot of them join Bungie.
But it's like, we're seeing a lot of this stuff happening now. I mean, we continue to talk about how the games that are doing the best are the ones that are these companies that are these talented creatives that are going off on their own. Embark Studios, we got, Claire Obscure, we just talked about with Sandfall, freaking it's not Norman Reedus, Hideo Kojima. It's like all these creatives that are just like, I'm not going to work for these types of people anymore, and then we're going to start our own thing. And now you're seeing what happens when you have, like, these people that, like, know their shit and can make good games at the helm of, I mean, the guy that runs Claire Obscure and the Hideo Kojima, like, they are the game creators. This dude, whatever his name is from Bungie, like, he's not
Pete.
He's not a creative. He's comes from, like, a business background.
Pete Parsons.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what you get when you have those people at the helm of the studio. I mean, you got to have that balance for sure. But
I mean, the same thing is happening at 343 Studios,
right?
Because they had
correction, Halo Studios now.
Halo Studios, because they had Joe Staten in there, and they didn't want Joe Staten in there.
Yeah,
the original writer of the Halo series, and they did not want any. If you came in, you're like, oh yeah, I used to work for Bungie. They're like, nope, we don't want you here. It's like, why wouldn't you want a Bungie guy here who helped make
cleaning out my closet,
who helped make the freaking franchise you're working on?
Clean out the closet, they're cleaning out.
I gotcha. So, like, it makes no sense to me. Like, all these people who are in charge of these corporations or studios or whatever, who are making all the money, that's all they want. All they want is money. It's like, can we just have nice things? Like, we just want video games. I mean, I think we're going to come to a point where we're going to have people with money eventually go to these indie devs and be like, hey, here's some money. Just make cool stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be corporations buying them up. Well, they're going to continue to do that, but I think we're going to find investors. The more and more indie people start to rise.
Well, it was wild to me with the developers behind, what was that game? I forgot the name of the game, but it's a game that came out that we talked about for a hot minute, but then didn't talk about. But they were the ones that invested in a Game Informer to bring them back. And it's like that was even happening too. And it's like they were just like, we just want you to do what you do best.
Right.
And we'll just, like, give you money, and hopefully they stay that way. But
right.
I also don't know where they got their money from, but that's another question itself. But also in the I mean, just going off of that too, it's like recently we haven't talked about it as a post on here, but, like, Polygon and Giant Bomb got shut down from their parent company. Giant Bomb's team pulled their money together and acquired the Giant Bomb label from the company that did it, and now they're running independent completely.
Nice.
And they brought the site back. So there's interesting to see that this shift happening where there's gonna be more of these, like, independently ran groups and stuff, both in the games media space, but then also in the game development space. There's a lot more of that occurring. My biggest fear, though, is just, like, Microsoft is sitting over here and their plan is, like, let's buy up all these studios like Bethesda and all that stuff and, like, put our name on it. and there's good games coming out of that. But I'm like, I feel like there's
I think people see now.
scared with that, you know.
Yeah, people see now, like they aren't. Yeah, it's not as lucrative as they wanted it to be.
I mean, look,
Like, they
freaking
keep-
Arcane is gone because of that happening.
Exactly.
Freaking all that stuff.
Like, I think we're actually seeing the retaking of ownership from a lot of these companies.
Yeah.
Where you have heads who spearheaded games and stuff who are now leaving, and now they're starting their own thing and potentially spearheading new games and new genres or within genres. Like, it's kind of cool to see that.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the people writing articles and stuff.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see. I mean, that's what we need. That's the thing. Like, we've gone so far where like you have huge conglomerations that just have too much power. And yeah, how many people did get laid off the last 2 years in video games? Too many.
Too many.
It's a lot. It seemed like every time we talked.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
More layoffs. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, yeah, Marathon.
Marathon.
I don't know how they bring this back. Yeah, they could delay it. I don't know if it's going to be enough to save it. Oh yeah, it kind of it might be delayed multiple years. If it can't come out next year,
Yeah.
that's GTA 6. It'll definitely fall. But hey, if they wanted to bury it quietly, it could come out the same day as GTA 6, and no one will ever.
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with this. I mean, I don't know if they have the money or the time to be able to just
Exactly.
take a break, or not take a break, but like extend it out far enough to like add like a PvE or make modifications to the gameplay or whatever it might require to like rethink it.
Exactly.
They've done that before with their other games a little bit, but they also had more. They had less to lose back then, I guess, because they had money coming in from like Destiny 1 as they prepare for Destiny 2. But in this case, because they are losing all this money and stuff, and then after the Concord failure, like Sony's probably like, "Yo, you gotta deliver some shit here. Like we gotta make something happen."
Yes.
It's
Earn your worth.
earn your worth, yeah. But
Worth Jack.
I don't know. I definitely don't think that Marathon is what will save them unless they drastically shift what they're building here and give some more variety.
It's been a marathon for Bungie. Yeah, they're about to cross.
It was a nice run. Time to give up.
Yep. Oh man. Yep. Let us know what you think about where Bungie's going with Marathon. Will this reinvention with extraction shooter world be good for them, or do you think they are a studio in decline that will ultimately see its end at some point? And who knows, maybe you'll have some people jump off and leave and just start their own company, and that'll be the new Bungie.
And we'll eventually turn into Bungie, and then Microsoft.
Then it just rotates, yeah,
and then just a vicious cycle.
I'll take the cycle.
yeah.
Give us some good stuff at first, and then you can fail.
I'll be dead by then.